I survived 100 hours in Pokemon Daybreak, so what's this fan game all about? Welcome to the completely new and custom Armura region with beautiful forests, swamps, an in-depth story, and 10 new gym battles. The goal of this video is to defeat the game and to showcase some of the best parts of Pokemon Daybreak as we go along. And the run starts in a classic trademark Pokemon city, Saffron, where the Pokemon lab is on the south end. My roommate Alex is already at the lab and reveals that every starter has already been taken. Don't worry though, Alex takes us to find our own Pokemon to start our journey. I nicknamed this little guy Drewster. Back at Mom's house, we had a little family meeting where Alex was a bit upset with me for fleeing the country, but it's what I had to do. That's right, we were getting the heck out of here, baby. Kanto is behind us. First, we had to choose an evolution stone. While Oak did offer us one of the OGs, talking to Sabrina reveals there are more stones located in Silphco. There we talked to the aides to receive our Ice Stone, the best evolution. I don't actually feel that way. I consider myself a Leafeon guy, but I thought Glaceon would be fun here. Comment your favorite evolution. I did kind of get lost here, but talking to Mom meant I was shipped to my new boarding situation somewhere in the world with $2,000, 5 Pokeballs, and a dream. Welcome to Radon Town, baby. It looks spiffy over here. We were told by a book to head to a crash site. On my way, soldier. We found Rochester Trail, where we would locate our first patch of tall grass. And what great Pokemon would await us in these grassy patches, but beasts like Poochyena. Okay, not great. Cool sprite though, and in the Pokemon Center, I found a move tutor for normal types, and it looks like there'll be more of those in every city we find. If I had to bet, I'd guess these trucks are going to be used for a Mew event later. Or simply not, and they're just trucks that make the city look cool. I found this Lotad, adorable sprite, but why do his arms look like he's pulling himself out of the earth? Like the rest of his body is trapped underneath the dirt. Moving west, we found a guy named Blake who led us to the gym leader, Flora, and a crater. With Flora spearheading the fight against Squad Zero, the villains of this fan game, they were distracted enough for me to get to the center. It was showdown time with 2 grunts in the middle, and while their lineups were easily dismantled, I think it's fun to see Palday and Wooper make an appearance here. We kicked him out, and Blake told us to meet him back in Radon. I talked to the rock like the spiritual girly that I am, collected an ore, and headed back home. Back in the lab, I met Blake and answered a question that gifted me a warning. I lost karma? I don't know exactly what that is, but it looks like the storyline changes based on what answers I give. I like when I can make decisions in a game that actually matter. Professor gives us a Pokénav and tells us to find a guy named Dante to help us in our journey. I dropped into Edgeton Woods to grab a little Poké guy and walked out with Chad the Caterpie, joining Drewster and Veronica in our endeavors. It was at this point that I decided to evolve Drewster into the beautiful ice princess that he becomes, and I, for the first time since maybe 2021, grinded my Pokemon up to level. That's right, guys. I didn't have any rare candies. But there is a hard mode to this game if you'd like to try that, where you can grind on Audinos for experience, and there's a level cap in place to keep you in check. I found a new route and I grabbed a Lotad named My Name is Jay, and though I wasn't universally picking up multiple encounters in each location, I did snag a Zoroa here as well so I could try the in-game trade for a Helioptile. Finally, after a good couple hours of grinding levels, I had brought everyone to level 12 and was ready to go. But before I dive into gym number 1, one thing I never get tired of is that childlike whimsy I get whenever I open a pack of Pokemon cards, even to this day. And now with the sponsor of today's video, I can experience that thrill anytime. Introducing Arena Club, the most trusted name in the game. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the pack with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. Arena Club time, baby. I like opening these packs. It's like when I'm opening Pokemon cards, except it's always like a decent card. All right, I'm gonna open the pack. We'll see how this goes. Okay, it's a Meganium. It's a Meganium Hollow. I don't know my cards super well, but I like cool Pokemon, so I'm glad we got our guy here. Once you open your pack, you get the excitement of seeing what you pulled instantly. Each slab is displayed with its grade and details ready to be added to your digital showroom. From your digital showroom, you can trade, sell, auction, or retrieve your physical card from the Arena Club vault. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/Whacko and using code Whacko at checkout. Again, go to arenaclub.com/Whacko and use code Whacko at checkout to get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Thank you to Arena Club for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back into Pokemon Daybreak. Edgeton Town lies just beyond the crater on Rochester Trail, and there's a lot going on here. First, while I already told you I stopped into Edgeton Woods, traversing through the trees brings you to a big Swampert statue and this blonde brat named Dante. He cockily suggests that he knows we need him. I ask for teamwork, And he says, yeah, if you're good enough to be worth my time, and challenges us to a battle. Blitzing the guy's couple of baby mons, he says we were just lucky and gives us the cut HM. To the southeast of Edgeton, I met up with two individuals that I'd briefly met earlier in Elise and Gabriel. Gabriel wants to spar for a bit, and this Electrike puts us in the blender a bit before we finally put it away. Insulted by their own defeat, Gabriel and Elise run off. Just before the gym, you get jumped by a familiar rival, Hoen's Brendan, whereas 3 Hoenn starters falter quickly. But you'll notice this Mudkip is packing an Ice Beam. Things level out as we continue on, but the early game learn sets in this game do not hold back. After taking down Brendan and paving our way to the switch-laden gym puzzle, we approached Flora to try and grab our first badge. And this team isn't super broken by any means, but level 12 Roserade is absolutely criminal. My favorite part of this team is that it's considered the easy mode version. Good luck to everyone trying to tackle this version of the throwdown. Flora opened with a Snover. I sent Rooster into Icy Wind and slow it down. I was hoping the AI would lock itself into Icy Wind as I was faster, and that appeared to be the case as it spammed it. It's funny how much manipulating the AI plays into getting through these attempts. Anyways, Snover eventually swapped out. It was about to collapse and now Roserade is looking at me. I was nervous, but I dropped its health by half and its speed by 1 stage already, so hell yeah. I mean, this was the big ace. I left Drewster in there and boy was that a gamble. I knew I was definitely slower at this point, so I switched Chad in to help out and tried to frag Roserade with Gust. Sending in Snover as a blood sacrifice to restore Roserade's speed was crazy, but it worked. And now Chad is poisoned. And Roserade still died. Only one Pokemon remained, a little devil named Cacnea. Cacnea did not die to Gust, and it did so much damage with Venoshock on my poisoned Mon. After it recovered like most of its HP, I had to get Chad out for literally anyone else. Helioptile chipped in, but things were looking mighty bleak. I decided to let Victoria go here to get Drewster back in for free and finish the job. Alright, admittedly, I was actually playing with Nuzlocke rules up to this point in the game, so Victoria will never be seen ever again. But it was very shortly after this that I decided to lift those rules so that way I could enjoy this beautiful game to the fullest extent. Unfortunately, Poochyena still sucks. Now, I did spend quite a bit of time here leveling up our guys again, but Adis Road to the west of Edgeton gifted us our next encounter, Skiddo. Skiddo was particularly useful because of its Sap Sipper ability, giving it an immunity to grass-type moves. The more immunities we could accrue on our team, the better. We moved south until we found a cave entrance, and it was here that we found our first Armeuran form Pokemon, this Hiker's Roggenrola. This ground ghost type looked so cool. The defensive special attacker folded to My Name is Jay, but what a brilliant modification. In this cave, we picked up Prita, the Geodude, and soon escaped back into Adis Road. The next town was Maroon Town, guarded by a tag battle with Dante against Squad Zero. I had Drewster Icy Wind the heck out of these guys, slowly bludgeoning our weak opponents into the dust. Most of Dante's team passed away in the process, but that sounds like not my problem. There were berries here, and it looked like we could steal them, but this whole karma situation was in place, and I decided it was better I didn't. In the middle of town, a guy named Whacko was talking to an individual with white hair. When they left, Gabriel and Elise jumped Whacko, asking him to show up to his gym challenge so they could continue their journey. Whacko complied and left with them to attend the gym. I guess that was my cue to follow. I stopped into the cave next door to get a new friend and was excited to add a Mawile to the team. The Fairy Steel type was going to give us a bunch of resistances and 2 immunities. I also picked up a Magikarp. Not useful now, but Gyarados is one of the best Pokemon in every game I've ever played. I was pretty bummed to find out I couldn't go on Destra Path yet, nor could I fish in the Maroon Dojo. With nowhere else to go, I dipped into the nearby cave, slaughtering anything that crossed my path so I could become the very best, like no one ever was. South of Maroon played home to Rocco's Dojo, a place where we could spar with peers in an official format. Upon entering, I stood next to Gabriel, who welcomed me to the event. Elisa was summoned to battle immediately, and Whacko chose me to be her opponent. Walking the plank to stare her down, I prepared for battle. Elisa's team wasn't that crazy, with Meryl opening and succumbing to Kiri the Skiddo instantly. Absol next was the real issue. This thing's base stat total is so high for this stage in the game. Fortunately for us, Simone matched up incredibly well against the beast and took it down in just a couple fairy wins. Whacko waited for us back in his gym and gave us the classic "I'm new here" speech. I didn't care, I was trying to win. Opening with Lunatone, I used Kiri to absorb the first power gem and leech seed the rock. Gambling that we'd survive another attack, I left Kyrian to try and Razor Leaf. Simone stepped in for a pivot into Chad on Earth Power, and Lunatone's health sapped away. Riolu out next. I did not read its learn set beforehand and had Chad stay in. That was hilarious. Good work, Chad. Frida got his first real action in, knowing that it was going to slam Revenge and move second. I magnituded the Riolu into the dirt. With only Soul Rock left, I got Drewster into Icy Wind and start fishing for bite flinches. The dumb rock kept spamming Morning Sun whenever I got close, and Whacko even burned a full restore on the guy. Eventually, however, luck ran out for our enemy and Drewster gnawed the heck out of his chew toy. Thank you for the second badge, Whacko. Dante met us outside, eager to tell us about his progress in figuring out what that crater was all about. Supposedly there's a professor in Zephtown that's an expert in all things meteorites, so it was our job to chase after him. The path was through Ride Cave, where a couple of rock smash rocks no longer stood in our way. Dante, however, was throwing down with Squad Zero over a professor who was being held hostage. And here we ran into our second Armurian form. Look how cool this water type Growlithe is. We absolutely shredded it, but I really liked the water dog. The professor's name was North, who invited us up to his lab in Zephtown. Knowing I still had to clear this cave, I complied and said I'd meet him there. Through the tunnel, we had to take on buckets of trainers. My favorite moment in this tunnel is when we find a Lunatone harassing a girl into a corner. So I assume it's part of some side quest and I need to take it down for like an item or something. Nope. She just leaves. I guess I could have caught a static Lunatone. Whatever. It took a bit, but eventually we escaped onto Quao Road, where I caught a little Shellos and we finally connected to Zephtown. This little tropical beach town is beautiful and plays home to the water type move tutor. We can also buy billions of berries from this little stand on the beach. I tried to get on a boat, but the game told me my departure was premature and I had other stuff I needed to handle. I went fishing and sifted through a horde of Magikarp before finally netting a Carvanha. I explored the northern end of this town, where Galarian Slowpoke were strewn about. Elisa was in front of a lighthouse and let us know that Gabriel was off in a cave somewhere. Unfortunately, a Slowpoke was guarding that lighthouse as well at this point, so I needed to find somewhere else to be. And I tried the cave where Gabriel was, but he was looking for the gym leader, who I'm pretty sure was locked behind the lighthouse. All right, guys, think. What was my mission in the first place? Oh yeah, the lab. Dante and North were huddled up in the corner, yapping about the meteorite. They were trying to figure out what Zero's motives were for exploring the crash site anyways. North implied that Deoxys was far-fetched, but Hoopa could make a little more sense if there was any physical proof that Hoopa existed at all in the first place. Dante suggests to North that I actually have evidence in my bag and forces me to hand the ore over to North. There's energy coming from it, but North can't decipher what that means. Dante leaves the challenge to the gym leader, telling us to figure it out on our own, and North suggests that if I want to continue my journey, I better get that gym badge as well, or no one will take me seriously. The Slowpoke had left the entrance to the lighthouse finally, and a quick trip to the top united us with our guy, Taze. You'll notice in this clip that I am one with Taze. It's a feature, not a bug. Back at the gym, Dante leaves, claiming it was easy as pie. It's clear this gym drew heavy inspiration from Watson's gym in the Hoenn region, and we had to complete some switch puzzles to get through it. Nevertheless, after defeating a few of the trainers within, I doubled back to let Gabriel know that I'd found him, who promptly left to challenge that gym leader and freed up the path to both the Helix and Dome fossils. Back in Zephtown, we marched up to Taze and prepared to take him on. His team was mostly tolerable, with notable coverage moves making it incredibly difficult to just throw grounds types at him. We entered the fight and I was prepared for battle. Frida opened, hoping to magnitude the heck out of the opening Luxio. Hidden Power Grass did not treat us kindly, and unfortunately, Intimidate dropped magnitude 6 was not rocking Luxio like I'd hoped it would. We got Frida the hell out of there. The good news was that Sap Sipper meant Kiri got in for free, dealing with the Thunderbolt and leech seeding her the next turn. Taze swapped Luxio out because of the seed the next turn, as I Razor Leaf. No, Chinchu did not like getting smacked with a +1 Razor Leaf on entry. It Volt switched out and brought Luxio back. Sure, we could knock it out here, but what if we swapped and got a better knockout and used Rest? I spammed Mudslap with Helioptile, and the cat eventually switched back into Chinchu to reset its stats. The Sea Lantern collapsed. Luxio walked back in to use Rest again, so I got Kiri in to try and Leech Seed stall it. It worked, as Kiri slowly dismantled the Sphinx. With just Raichu left, I was in trouble. Hidden Power eviscerated Kiri, and I realized my best plan was probably to navigate 10 turns and let it die to its own life orb. Prita was excellent for getting in on electric attacks, so I had Drewster and Simone deal with the Hidden Power Ices. Eventually, Raichu got so low in HP that Helioptile was able to step in and deliver the final blow with Quick Attack. Thank you for badge number 3. Outside of the gym, a hiker suggested needing another trainer to accompany him for something and waltzed into the lab. Whacko called to let us know his dojo had been converted into a training facility. Might have to check that out later. I headed back to the dock that I was barred from earlier, and it dropped me into Briziano Town. The Bayside city was guarded by Dante, today, who wanted to have another showdown since we were both 3 badges deep. Fortunately, neither of Curlia nor Bagon were a threat. Hitmonlee, however, packed a serious punch. My only way out was through Helioptile, who moved first and was able to land a mud slap. Dropping Hitmonlee's accuracy, I watched as the kicky guy missed 2 jump kicks and knocked itself out. We were moving on. The town was gorgeous, and I tried fishing in it to see what encounters were available. Honestly, I'm pretty confident the encounter pools here were the exact same as Zeph Town, and I gave up fishing after a short string of Magikarps and Carvandas, which I already had. Speaking of Magikarps, the next gym leader's level cap sat above level 20, and I decided it was a good time to bring Tyler onto the team. I slowly brought the fish up to level as I surged through the trainers on Terrera Road. Finally, after a few hours of grinding and with Gyarados officially on the team, I felt good about slamming our way through the cave. I also got this sunstone and a little patch of dirt, and I could evolve Helioptile. Welcome to Laca Cave, a deep cavern littered with fights, healing spots, mana encounters, thank you very much, and our first true Fakemon, Dynamion. The Flareon Espeon mixed breed of evolution is one of the many combinations you can find in this game, as one of the biggest plot points of this game is that there's a device that allows you to combine 2 evolution powers to maximize their potential. The most important moment of Laca Cave, however, is the rival battle against Gabriel, who jumps you about midway through. I thought we were gonna yap and story build. The guy only has 3 Pokemon but asks for a double battle. I opened with Drewster and Prita, hoping to get a double target on the rock as I switched into Heliolisk with Dry Skin. Icy Wind dropped our opponent's speed, and utilizing pivots on the left slot while Heliolisk chipped at our opponents worked wonders. Eventually, the Nectric fell, as did Sandslash, and then Gyarados to Thundershock. It was a tough battle, but nothing our squad couldn't handle. Can I just say, this color scheme in this cave with the gray tiles and the aqua rivers is so pretty. I really enjoyed the aesthetic of this area. It kind of looked like Meteor Falls from Hoenn. Before we leave the cave, I want you to see this custom shiny Breloom spray. Super cool and absolutely insane at the same time. Back on Terrera Road, we found Squad Zero listening to some sort of message and landed ourselves in Plato City. We found a Mystic Water and Waterstone vent, a delivery man who gives us something for a code that I did not have, the Rock-type move tutor, and the next gym. First, we had to step into the museum where we knew Squad Zero was huddling up. I thought this museum was alright, with the giant Reshiram statue on the main floor and a neat storage space underneath. Torching some grunts with our gritty team, we approached the leader of this Squad Zero group, Lissa. Lissa taught us about the prison bottle and ordered her grunts to seize it from the museum. I really didn't want to fight, they were taking the bottle no matter what. But alas, Lissa squared up. Drought Torkoal was her brutal opener, and Solar Beam hit like a truck against Prita. I did what I had to do next. Bulldoze was a range to kill here, but Magnitude was basically a guaranteed knockout. And that was a brilliant idea, as Magnitude 8 clocked the turtle. Life Orb Ivysaur was a nightmare, but Nadeham tanked 2 Sludge Bombs and Trooster a hidden power en route to an Ice Shard finish. Just Houndoom remained. Heliolisk fired off a Mud Slap to hopefully restrict the ability of Fire Blast to connect with my team, and as luck would have it, the dog missed Frustration and fainted to a Magnitude 7. All of that just to get a bike voucher? They were stealing a museum artifact. They were committing a real crime, and they gave me a bike. I appreciate it. There was a beautiful forest known as Asterisk Tower Path just to the west of the city, and a whole bunch of static Eevees and Butterfrees. I didn't realize that I could fight them if I talked to them, which I think is a really fun part of this game. Asterisk Tower appears to be this game's version of the Burn Tower from Ecruteak. The 3 legendary dogs are hiding, and Gabriel and Elisa blame me for their running away. There's no Pokemon to catch in here, and the next step of my journey is clear. I need to acquire another gym badge. West of here, I found Squad Zero yapping on a bridge about something down the road a ways. Then I found a little hideout with a little guy named John who asked me to help him with stuff. I told him I was busy and he was on his own. I had things to do. He seemed to understand that. Later, John. Back in Plato City, I paved my way through the water-type trainers to meet with gym leader Meredith at the top. Her pool of water-type guys seemed fairly beatable, but we'll see how things play out. Kiri thrashed on the opening Marshtomp, and the ensuing Ice Beam Gorbis threatened me next. A pivot into Heliolisk allowed me to Mud Slap it, and the Ice Beam miss prompted it to swap into Gastrodon on Grassnot. That did way less damage than I thought it would. It's fine, I got Kiri in as it recovered, and Seed Bomb went bananas. Gorbis was back, so I rocked the same pivot into Heliolisk, clapping it with Grassnot and imploring the final Milotic to join us. I don't know if stalling it was a good strategy, but I do know that getting Heliolisk in on Surf gave us HP back. Mud Slap did so little damage that Mirror Coat was doing nothing to us, and I absolutely would have had the Rock Smash knockout this next turn if Milotic hadn't frozen Tyler the Gyarados with Ice Beam. which is ridiculous, by the way. More pivots got Kiri in for like free, which meant we could leech seed and really drain the fish. Mud slap made it so the serpent never hit again. And after about a gajillion turns, and I mean a gajillion turns, this took forever, we fainted the monster. Outside of the gym, a woman was guarding the door, albeit unintentionally, I think. It was the white-haired lady that we'd met speaking to Whacko hours. Well, we didn't meet her. She kind of walked away before we could say hi. But why was she here? What does she want? She took interest in me and my 4 badges and told us she could help us get to Yellowstone City if we visited her in Braziano Town. Guess where we're going, boys? I could surf now. The first thing I did with my newfound powers was catch a basculin in pond in Plato. And then I did so much exploring through the woods and basically anywhere I could go. There were so many nooks and crannies of this beautiful map. I stopped into the lab to revive a fossil, and boy was I excited to add Lord Helix to my box, where she will stay forever. I used my Pokenav to view the map and decided that this Abro that wanted to take me back to Zeptown was my greatest asset. So long ago, I was blocked by a small pond from exploring the rest of Tress Road. Not anymore. This swamp would be my... Brendan? Tyler forced Matang to switch out, and Drewster fired off an ice shard to frag the lizard. Combuskin had nada on Prita, and Leech Seed into Bulldoze on Kiri was enough to smack Matang. Marshtomp did not survive a little seed bomb after that, and the rest of Tress Road was ours to explore. I like Brendan in this game. He doesn't have any plot points at all. He doesn't drive the story. He's just there and he wants to fight. That's my kind of guy. At the gate to the next section of the game, some guy named Arwin claims to be a talent scout. He gives us a ticket to Aquafina City. Last time I met a talent scout in one of these games was Scott from Pokemon Emerald. I always felt like that guy was a freak. Vareed Swamp lied ahead, where we caught a little pincer and met up with Elisa and Gabriel. And Elisa, in her vampirical state, wanted to ruin my team. The bloodthirsty rival launched a Azumarill on me first, but faltered quick and sent out Ninetales. I would have dealt with the fox just fine if Tyler hadn't hurt himself in confusion 3 times in a row. Nevertheless, Prita was able to bulldoze it, Kiri seed bombed Absol, and Nadeham was far too much for the remaining Servine to handle. Welcome to the team Crobat. Elisa stormed off because she lost like a loser, and Gabriel asked to get to know me better. He said he likes battling and hopes to see me soon. Thanks, guy. Leave me alone. Almost out of the woods, a Heracross jumped me? Nadeham smoked it, but why did that happen? There was no plot or anything. It just ran at me. Lissa from Squad Zero was hosting a meeting and told her troops to roll out. She saw me after they left and said some swear words before leaving herself into the swamp. But yeah, we made it to Yellowstone City. Woohoo! We caught a Meryl that I was without a doubt adding to the team as a replacement for Graveler. I know they're such different ones, but they're both kinda bulky, and Graveler stinks, while Azumarill does not. Then, in the forest, when I tried to grind for levels, the craziest thing happened. I switched in Akuma on Whirlipede to try and get some EXP on her, because I was trying to get the evolution, and the trainer used a revive. The AI used a revive. They're invincible now. How am I supposed to stop that? Back in Yellowstone, I prayed that that would never happen again and entered the bank. There was a robbery going on? They tried to kick me out, but I wouldn't take no for an answer. I pulverized the 2 grunts blocking my way to call in the police, rang them, and got teleported to Looker's house. I guess that old guy from the Sinnoh region was a part of the International Police Force now and was doing work to try and hamper Squad Zero's plans. Do you think all of these evil teams throughout every region ever communicated with each other, or do you think they all just existed in different time periods so they never really coexisted? Looker tossed me the strength HM, which was sweet. Dante was guarding the gym next, so I tried to say hi. He teased me for being lost and for being better than me when Gabriel and Elisa showed up. Their conversation got heated. I can't really decide if it was Dante's fault for suggesting that I'd never talked about them to him, or Gabriel's fault for making fun of Dante's haircut. Dante bolts in favor of seeing the art gallery, which feels out of character for him, by the way. Elisa suggests that I should beware of Dante and his motives, and Gabriel threatens to fight him for me if anything ever happens. Thanks, guys, I guess. And as it turns out, Dante really was interested in the art. He was just yapping to me about a statue that he was looking at. The weird guy in here actually was the one staring at the Jolteon Umbreon combo picture thing. I get a lesson on the history of evolution morphing here, and the tools needed to do it. He introduces himself at the end as Gaz and departs quickly. Dante suggests I should be very wary of that guy and hands me the fly HM in the meantime. Later, Dante. Before exploring the 5th gym, I wanted to check out Vareed Swamp just one more time. I felt like I was missing something. After some digging, found a building reminiscent of the Eterna Forest haunted building that was locked. I did not like it. I thought it was very scary and I left promptly. Gym time, baby. It was spooky in here too, but I'm not afraid of anyone. Look at this leader. I started equipping citrus berries because these fights were getting tough, and this opener was exactly that. Sylveon and Umbreon did not need a combo evolution. Akuma got confused, hurt itself in confusion, play roughed it once, and then hurt itself in confusion again. And then Sharpedo swapped in. I sent in Tyler on Psychic Fangs to drop its attack and got off good damage with Rock Smash. Leech Life Nadeham finished the job, and Luneon was back in. Cross Poison slashed the cat, and a regional Frogadier stared us down. The Fire Dark type looked cool as hell, but it wasn't strong at all. Hatchrim out next. I didn't have anything particularly great for it, but Kiri was able to damage it, and Nadeham was able to bite flinch it until we acquired badge number 5. Thank you, thank you. Yellowstone City was a blast, but Killamont Path north of here looked like the place to be. I found a Pig Knight. I caught the oinky guy and I named him Tago. Welcome to the team. I did not know that this tall grass was capable of creating double battles though. Holy crap. I don't know if this was going to be important information later, but it was definitely helpful in grinding levels now. Eventually, I ended up in a new place called Kalana Ranch. It seemed nice. I got a double and a whole bunch of free berries. And I talked to a guy that sells orange berries for $10,000. I thought it was like a secret side quest. Turns out, just a classic rug pull, guys. Don't buy the berries. This Munchlax actually wanted a berry and I gave it to him. In return, he ate it. Thanks. I found a trade where I could swap a Staravia for Curlia, but I didn't have a bird to swap, and I'm not sure what an elixir berry is, but I have one now. And it was a key item, so I decided to figure out what that was all about. Turns out, you can cash in that bad Larry for a flame orb if you give it to this chicken. Excellent. To the west, I ventured through a route where my favorite Pokemon of all time was soaring around and caught a Marowak. This route connected us all the way back to Radon Town and the Safari Zone. I forgot to cover it, but earlier in the game, the Safari Zone is blocked. Not anymore. We caught a Voltorb, and I was super excited to find a shiny Roselia hanging out back on the trail that connected us to the ranch. You bet I caught that guy. I figured out the next step was to get to Aquafina City, but how? I looked at the map and saw that Destra Path to the east of Maroon appeared to connect us there. Earlier, I had been blocked from exploring, but now I was free to get my butt kicked by every random trainer on the route. I got a Lycanroc. Through the woods and swim in the ocean blue, I rapidly approached and entered Suicosa City, another beautiful beachside landmark. The town played home to the Move Relearner. I decided to scavenge the bay for any extra items and stumbled upon a heart scale and a life orb. I also ran into a woman hanging out with a Pelipper. She introduced herself as gym leader Helena, claiming to be restoring the bird's wings and suggesting that she would meet me back at the city's gym. Word. I hunted that Pelipper back down in the grass and made the evaluation that this one actually needs to be held in captivity for a while. I made it all the way back to the gym entrance before getting stopped by a feisty Dante, who wanted nothing more than to slam my face into the dirt. Nadeham dropped his Shelgon as well as his Hitmonlee, Gardevoir, and Superior. The battle was over in a flash. Get out of my way, Dante. I got the Bird of Destiny. Helena awaited us, and my team was ready to stick it to her. This team was tough, but nothing I couldn't handle. Opening with Skarmory, I sent in Tago to fry the hunk of metal. I like it when things work out for me. It's nice. Switching Akuma in on Dragon Pulse, Play Rough was more than enough to smash the Mega Altaria. Gyarados on the floor next. I rocked some pivots to get Kiri in for relatively free, and leech seeded the Serpent before attacking with Tyler. As much as I would have loved to continue to pivot and just drain it slowly with leech seed, between the spikes and the threat of Helena switching her seeded mon out, I had to go for raw damage output. Tyler won the 1v1 and Rock Slide Charizard entered the fray. Aqua Tail into Ice Shard did the ultimate work for us, and we were officially 6 badges in. Thank you, Helena. I flew back to Kalana Ranch in search of the next place to be and landed on Elisa and Gabriel chilling with that old Munchlax. Stupid orangeberry wasting piece of... Elisa gave us the XP share, which was going to be so valuable moving forward. Then we watched Squad Zero chase down a bystander and had a quick talk about it. I guess Gabe and Elisa here had no idea I was fighting crime. They thought I was the man now. Gabriel stormed after those bad guys because, well, if I could do it, then anyone can. And Elisa stayed behind knowing her limits. In an effort to protect Gabriel, I followed him to the bridge where we engaged in a thrilling tag battle. Look at this Hippowdon. I actually think it makes a lot of sense to have a water type Hippowdon variant, and I'm very pleased with the look of this sprite. Gabriel believed he was invincible now, ready to fight Squad Zero at every turn for the rest of the journey alongside me. So where to now? I flew back to Suicosa City and entered at the cave up top. There are a ton of battles in here, and a Mienfu that we added to the team, a healing station, and maybe most importantly, an exit onto Eridon Trail. This route is so unique with stones to hop across to further our journey as we navigate our way to the next city. We made it! Welcome to Eridon Town. Dante spotted us, fumbled over his words a bit, and makes up an excuse to drag us to the library. He shows us the mythology section and cites the notes in the books, as well as the conversation we'd had with North about Hoopa before in a crazy flashback, coming to the conclusion that maybe something didn't really exist, or did exist, he didn't know. The book tells him exactly where to look for answers, the Zeph Ocean. Elisa and Gabriel confront me outside of the library to let them know that they're suspicious of that Dante guy. They said they saw him talking to a shady figure and being told what to do. They weren't sure who he was. Whatever guys, I can only do so much, and right now, I had my eyes focused on gym number 7, introducing leader Ares, the fighting type guy. I led with Tyler for the sake of getting an attack drop and swapped through into Nadeham for the cross poison knockout. Akuma throttled the poor Scrafty that came out next, and Mega Metacham took the floor. Swapping back into Nadeham, a couple of wing attacks eliminated our opponent, with Machamp falling to Nadeham next. This bat was easily becoming the star of our team. Never underestimate the power of a Crobat. Checking out the outskirts of Erodon Town, I acquired a big crab, a punchy mushroom, and bumped into this Haunch Crow. Holy level 55, Dragon Dance Tyler had become my ace at this point, and clearing the avian permitted us to the pocket watch, a key item that I'd hoped would be valuable later. Welcome to the team, Rapidash, by the way. Antiqua Path sat east of Erodon, and clearing some rocks meant we could take all of the berries in the entire world. Yes, please. Following the agenda on my Pokenav, I returned to Zeph Town to speak to Boar. And Boar seemed like a cool guy. He offered to be my guide into the snowy parts of the region. Let's go, baby, Snowcast Island. This terrain is so pretty. This map appears to have some sort of magic behind it, and it reminds me of a forest in Pokemon Reborn, where the trees warp around the forest as you run through it. There's an epic showdown between me, a Bomasnow, and some snowflakes before Boar leads us towards a structure brandished as an old Reggie monument. There didn't seem to be anything I could do with it now, but after running around the region aimlessly for some time, I remembered that I had yet to attend Aquafina City, which the fairy was waiting ever so patiently to bring me to. This place looked crazy. It's one of the best designed cities that I've seen in a fan game. I love the textures, the layout, and found the Pokemon Center with the Poison Move tutor in it quickly. There were clearly some buildings and locations that were going to be important later that I couldn't access now, as well as a meeting outside that I didn't quite understand. The next step in the journey was finding the Luge Axe, which I believe I'd missed up to this point. It took some serious navigation skills, but I figured out after legitimately a whole hour of searching that there's a secret entrance to Destra Path from Siakosa City that led us to this Pawniard-owning lumberjack. Thinking about where to go to next, I remembered that a bit ago, Dante had suggested he knew where to look for more info on Hoopa, the Zeph Ocean. I flew to Briziano Town and surfed east thinking that that would lead me there, but after traversing the Brizay Ocean until I found an abandoned ship, exploring the ship didn't gift me much. The auxiliary items were cool, but I still didn't get to the Zeph Ocean. After figuring out that I should probably go directly to Zeph Town for this progress, I surfed south and stumbled upon what appeared to be a tiny rock island in the middle of nowhere. Dante, Gabriel, and Elisa were congregated on top. It sounded like Dante didn't want the other two to be there, and he definitely wasn't letting them in until I got there. After Dante gave up guarding the gate, Elisa challenged us to a battle to make sure we were prepared to enter. We were, and that fight was over quickly. Once inside, Dante seemed jealous of our relationship with Gabriel and Elisa, asking if the reason I brought them was because I didn't trust him. Dante seemed like a tool, but he hadn't done anything wrong to me quite yet, though I wasn't sure why he cared about my approval anyways. Stepping into the lair, a scientist passed us some scuba gear and we dove in. If you're looking for challenging in-game Pokemon puzzles, this fan game is just so good. It took me a few hours to clear this one, but here's what I came up with. On each floor, you have limited steps. The first one requires you to evade or battle the Cofagrigus within the temple, finding your way to the west corridor, where a wall is conscripted with the instructions to use strength. Once you use it, a door opens on the eastern side of the puzzle, where you're able to drop into the next section. This dimly lit portion requires you to venture south until you find another inscription. Selecting a water type opens another door in the southwest corner where you're able to enter the underwater. This is where your steps are limited the most, and routing is the most important. There are 4 love discs scattered throughout this map. The task at hand is to destroy the love disc population on your way around to escaping the cavern. Figure out your path and go from there. Back in the temple's cold shadows, our scuba gear broke, and there was nowhere to go but forward. Locating a ladder followed by another, we left the cavern to find ourselves on another deserted island. Dante awaited us at a temple-looking thing. Writing on a nearby stone was in Greek, and Dante suggested we should use my meteorite sample to summon whatever. We were vaporized, and Dante wondered where we went. We met an old lady named Anelka on a floating island. She called us a grounder, which I'm pretty sure is an Omiran slur. and it's clear that we were not supposed to be there, never mind to know about this place at all. I headed to the top of town and entered what looked like a sky temple. I made like the Lorax and spoke to as many trees and plants as possible in there, discovering secret buttons that allowed us more progress. The puzzle was cool and all, but the climax of the event was held in the final room, where a Squad Zero admin, Carrasco, as he introduced himself, was trying to steal some stuff. Carrasco sounds like a type of hot sauce. His team was ass though, outside of this insane drought fire rock Tyranitar. I mean, yeah, honestly, this battle wasn't even close. We had answers to everything he sent out. Side note, these Umbreon Morpholutions were easily the coolest ones. No, yeah, we rolled over this one. Zenith, who claimed to be the elder of this island, gave us a history lesson on how this island was banished to the sky for 100 years by Hoopa himself. It was a really cool piece of artwork depicting the different beasts that Hoopa was able to manipulate with wormholes. I guess a trainer tamed Hoopa once upon a time, but the trainer lost control of it after a war and it went rogue. That trainer was his grandfather, and now Zenith is wondering how people keep arriving at his home, suspecting that meteor was intentionally placed by Hoopa to bring us together. Giving us the Azure Flute, Zenith suggests we'll need the help of Arceus to save us. I'm instructed to find a guy named Francis. I got an egg from an old man in a house. I picked up some leftovers across a little pond, and I found Francis in a room with a PC. He sent me on a mission to find a place on the mainland with an Alarite. I don't know what that is, but I dropped back down and found a note from Elisa suggesting I should go back to Zephtown. I took care of what was in front of me, and I went there. People were very impressed with my labyrinth skills, and I definitely had those great skills and did not need a map to help me out. All of my friends thought my story was remarkable, and Elisa told me she was heading to Riddero City and that I should head there too. Okay, guy, hold up. I gotta stop into Blake to tell him about the meteorite. Blake was incredibly interested in our story and rewarded our research with a portable heal machine. Hell yeah, brother. Blake tells me to find Looker and reveals that he hasn't had any contact with Dante since we met him in Edgeston Woods, which was so long ago. This does not help with the Dante is suspicious plot. In my mission to make progress, I went back to a road in town and tried to head northeast. I was stopped by a rogue Sandslash, but then Athena stopped in and killed it with a Zygarde? Whatever, not my problem. She has nothing to say to us and leaves. It was desert time. Straight north, I was able to get through pretty quickly, and once in Riddero, I located the guy that owns the Riddero mine. There are conveniently only children around the mines, and this guy was super wealthy. I sold all of my goods to the curio shop. Now, admittedly, I actually got lost from here trying to find the actual Riddero mine, but so many things happened from that point to when I actually find it. Shiny Fomantis joined the team. I battled my first Mega Heliolisk. I found Looker hiding in a building in Riddero who was fraternizing with a gentleman named Arturo. Arturo is a retired Squad Zero member. He tells us there's a town called Snalaska that's purely Squad Zero agents. Arturo gives us some uniforms and tells us that if we can sneak in, maybe we'll get some useful information. Just as I leave to embark on that exact mission, Elisa halts me to warn that Gabriel had gone missing and that she's worried that the quote-unquote thugs from Kalana had taken him. Squad Zero. All right, off to find the secret base, I guess. I got super lost here, losing time trying to climb waterfalls that I had no ability to climb yet, trying to unpack secret braille puzzles in Laca Cave, heading back to the bank to get told to head to the power plant where we were able to get one of those evolution morphs. And I couldn't resist, but I asked Drooster to become the most diabolical weapon of all time. A Jolteon Glaceon mix of pure unadulterated offense. Hell yeah. As it turns out, I wasted over an hour running around in the desert looking for a mine entrance that was in Riddero the whole time. All I had to do was talk to this guy with his little car. My dumb ass. The next gym leader was in here at the end and asked us to repair a fan for the workers to be able to operate in livable conditions. They all fought me every step of the way, which I thought was messed up. I was trying to help them. We repaired the fan and Venus was content and she left back to head to the gym. An evil team was trying to destroy the world, Gabriel was gone missing, and we were grabbing badge number 8. I led with Tago to combat her Cradilly. Stealth Rocks going up was a bummer, but Tago was able to punch the plant into the dirt. Fire Tar was back on the stage, but Tago made light work of Godzilla as well, who fell and invited in Dogzilla, if you will. Water-type Arcanine looks like the ghost of Arcanine in this game, but we were able to beat it via its own recoil against Tyler, and Blaziken stepped in. Mega Blaziken hit like a truck. Akuma was able to Aqua Tail it and bring on the final Volcarona. With Bug Buzz doing minimal damage, Akuma finished the job, and we were moving on with the story. Finally, I was able to scale those waterfalls I was locked behind earlier, making our way to Squad Zero land. In my adventure, I ran into this Armuran form. What did they do to my guy's Sceptile? After this, Mandibuzz jumped me. I'm like Lily in that one scene in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Arwen did his whole creepy talent scout hanging out conveniently in the woods where I'm walking along thing. He gave me a metal case? I don't know. In Alaska, it didn't look like an evil place to be. It looked quite quaint and honestly peaceful. And that was until Looker and Elisa were spotted to the east, where they were pretty convinced they could uncover the secret Squad Zero base in the woods. I ran around here forever trying to locate the base. I even found a Mount Zurus with a little entrance that led to a Hisuian Zorua. Welcome to the team. The cave sucked, actually, and I ran around like a chicken with its head cut off in the forest until I eventually fell face first into a secret switch, which opened stairs for Looker, Elisa, and I to move forward. Looker and I found a wall, but no way to get through with a secret password. I was sent on a mission to scour the other side of the wall for a spot that might not hold up in a zombie apocalypse. Lo and behold, here it was. Ooh, look at me, I'm on Squad Zero. Dante was in there? Why wasn't he trying to stop them? He dropped the key, which led us into a building with a bunch of objects we could dock to. I found a key card in a drawer, and while that helped me enter the cave, it did get me kidnapped. I was in jail. Gabriel was in jail next to me. He was hanging out. It seemed like we were doomed until Dante showed up. Dante appeared to be walking around freely. This was not helping his Squad Zero allegations. Dante reveals he actually was working for them this whole time, but he says that he really liked being our friend throughout the entire run so far, and he was upset with how the squad was treating him. He drops us a key to get out of jail and lets us know that it'll open both mine and Gabriel's gates. Dante leaves to avoid any accountability to Squad Zero. Trying to get out, Gabriel says we have to be sneaky. So it's best if you go, actually, and I'll stay right here. Thanks! And now for maybe one of my favorite puzzles in the game. You have to walk by grunts and try not to get caught. It's just an optional dodging, timing is everything nightmare. Make one mistake and you get teleported back to square one. I was not good at this, but I tried really hard, and after a long time, I located a key card and then my running shoes, and then Squad Zero got called on the intercom to leave. Gabriel joined up with me at this point, and we were officially out of jail. And then Gabriel left again, because that's what he does. Elisa showed up and was like, where is he? And I was like, I don't know. But at least Dante helped and wasn't a horrible guy. We get a sneak peek behind the scenes as Gaz and Carrasco are yapping about their plans with the flute. They realize we have it and that we're here, which means that they can now take it. Looker is still in uniform, looking great. He tries to stop Arceus from showing up, but is nervous that someone or something else is going to show. My job now is to get to him to help out. Reminiscent of that one Silphco fight against Blue in the original Kanto games, Dante decides now is exactly the time to throw down. I'm under the impression that this is his way of having plausible deniability, being able to tell Squad Zero that he tried to stop me even though he knows he's gonna lose. And his team was tough, but Dragon Dance Tyler took down Gardevoir, Nate slapped Drapion, Kiri ripped Milotic, and Akuma rolled through the final Salamence and Crocodile. Dante claims that fight went the way it did because he wasn't trying, as he should, and ran away. My friends were right behind him, ready to finally acknowledge that Dante doesn't entirely suck, and pulled me in to help find Looker. Looker comes down to give me the scoop. He saw that I escaped from the jail and has been hunting me down ever since. He knows Gaz as the leader of Zero, and thinks he's a jerk. Looker thinks the two are plotting to summon Arceus, and they also got a prison bottle who Hoopa's supposedly summoned with. Looker thinks they're gonna use Hoopa to open a portal to Arceus and bring on the beast that way. He decides he's gonna call the police to help stop Squad Zero from summoning God. Excellent. Mount Zurus was accessible through the base, and entering it resulted in the whole world shaking. At the top of the mountain, Elisa and Gabriel were holding off some grunts, allowing me to pass by. I kept running into these stupid elevators that require pins and helped me not at all. Lissa and Carrasco were hanging out in the snow waiting, but Lissa stepped back to find warmth by the elevators and incidentally stumbled into our path. All right, Lissa, let's dance. Tyler was able to counter Zoroark and Torkoal, but Nadeham had to counter Venusaur with Wing Attack, and Akuma used Aqua Tail on Houndoom. Mega Moltres entered the chat. Akuma bested that guy, who I did not know the type of, and Tago was able to counter the final Zebstrika. Pulverizing the admin just meant that we had the yap with Carrasco now, who was worse. He praised Zenith for giving me the flute. Carrasco challenged me to a fight with the intent to take it from me, and it went actually pretty smooth for us. Gliscor passed away at the hands of Drewster, and that damn fire-type Tyranitar made yet another appearance. Akuma slapped it, and Swampert took its place. Kiri's food was delicious. King Gambit was a little scarier, but Akuma dodged the Ironhead flinch en route to a superpower smackdown. Tago overwhelms Noctavian, which is a cool Pokemon, and we got to meet Mega Articuno. Again, unsure of the typing, Akuma used Play Rough, and it was super effective. It's clear the trio of Megas was based on the Galar forms in design, but they're so different type and stat-wise in this game. Gaz was our final challenger, informing us that he's so close to summoning Arceus. Is this Spear Pillar? He says that Carrasco and Zenith are one and the same, with Zenith being imprisoned in the sky and Carrasco being free. Gaz plans on using their resources to take command of the gods and rule the world. Here we go. The big showdown. Drewster finished the Armurian Greninja, player of Akuma defeated Mega Zapdos, who I still don't know the typing of, but it was super effective. Milotic collapsed to Kiri, and Tyler was able to set up 2 Dragon Dances to sweep the remaining Sceptile, Excadrill, and Flareon Glaceon fusion thing that stood in our path. But of course, we were too late. The bad guys went on with their to-do anyways. The machine had been finished and Gaz opened a wormhole. Primal Dialga showed up, which confused Gaz, and when he went to battle it, he lost. He pleaded for my assistance, and I would have loved to leave him there to die, but that didn't appear to be an option. Staring down the beast, I had Kiri set up a Leech Seed, Tago Rock smashed it twice, and Big Akuma superpowered us through the final bit of its health. Gaz and Carrasco deliberated the arrival of Dialga as opposed to Arceus, depicting an oversight in the machine's coding, but they couldn't figure out how. Looker showed up and revealed himself, suggesting he manipulated a way to stop Arceus' arrival. Gaz, fearing his arrest by the police, throws a smoke bomb and escapes, with people suggesting he bolted to a secret entrance in the basement of the lair, while Looker uses that police force to arrest everyone left on the scene. I scrambled to the basement, storming through the rocky walls of the mountain. Elisa and Gabriel catch up because clearly I'm slow as dirt and get me up to speed on the arrest of Squad Zero and tell me to challenge the next leader instead of chasing Gaz. The prompt tells me I should fill in Professor Blake first, so I do. Blake feels bad that he helped Dante out at all, and as research was used as an asset to an evil scheme, he gives me $100,000 for my, I would do it again. I think that was a good, we should give me $100,000 all the time. And he sends me to Aquafina to get a permanent, unbreakable set of scuba gear. Let's get after it. Dante stopped us at the exit, trying to apologize and suggesting he intends to say sorry to Blake as well. He just isn't ready yet. He says he's from the Johto region and his brother was a member of Team Rocket. He hits us with the classic smell you later and continues on with his gym challenge. Back in Aquafina finally, in my quest to find the scuba gear, I decided to take on the gym first. This poison gym was going down. The 9th gym is tough. There's an incredible level jump and the team is incredibly well rounded. I found weaknesses to each opponent and I tried to exploit them. I utilized Drewster to Icy Wind and Double Blizzard Galvantula, and when Sceptile walked in, I was worried. The Swords Dance set had me trembling, but Tyler switched in for the Intimidate and took advantage of the AI, setting up 2 separate Dragon Dances. Once boosted, I outsped and shredded the Sceptile with a single Waterfall. Kiri was too strong for Magnezone, and a real nuisance entered the battle, Galar Weezing. With no way to really do damage to it, I elected to Leech Seed and used Tago for Will-O-Wisp pivots and Nateham for Pain Split turns. It took a while because of the amount of healing constantly going on between its own leftovers and then Pain Split and Leech Seed, but it eventually ran out of moves, and Tago was able to Heat Crash it. This Tentacool has such a weird set, with no ability to do any real damage. It couldn't touch Nateham because the only thing it could do is Toxic, so Wing Attack with plenty of PP stalled the squid out of moves and it dissipated into struggles and nothingness. The final Gengar was a team effort, but Tyler delivered the final punch and we had acquired a 9th badge. Getting to Gym 10 was so quick. I very briefly stopped in to say hi to Raikou above Aquafina City and flew over to Radon to connect us to Iridescent Woods. There's some cool stuff in there, but the most important thing it does is connect us to Iridescent Gardens. And the most important thing that does is bring us to Castle Armura. Castle Armura plays home to Gym 10 in this game, the final gym challenge. The Dragon's Lair can be a nightmare with a bunch of high base stat total behemoths ready to punch me out, but I wasn't gonna let that happen. I opened with Akuma, who had been doing magnificent work lately, by the way, and had her dismantle the opening Hydreigon. Nateham cross-poisoned Sylveon, and Garchomp walked in. I saw an opportunity here. Pivoting through Akuma, I baited out Earthquake, and I got Tyler in for free, which allowed me to get off an Intimidate in the process. Dragon Dance time, again, a double powerful Ice Fang was brilliant in dropping Chomp. Snorlax passed away at the hand of Tago, Akuma play-roughed Kingdra, and Charizard died all on its own. With every badge in hand, it was Elite Four time. I checked into Aquafina to grab the scuba gear, and it was finally ready. Making my way to the league, I ran into whatever the hell a Sand Ridger is. If this is a Sandslash evolution, God, I'm into it. There's a Pokemon Center before Victory Road. I actually really like the placement of it, and I think it looks really pretty. The next half hour of my time was spent just dodging optionals in Victory Road. We did have one final throwdown with Brendan and Dante before the Elite Four, but Brendan sucked, and there was a glitch where Drapion goes to use an item on the first turn of Dante's battle over and over and over again, which I took advantage of to set up 6 Dragon Dances with Tyler, and then I swept the entire fight. All that was left to do was grind levels and take down this Elite Four. Each Elite Four member is complete with at least one legendary, one mega, and a few pieces that make the team come together. My plan for each one was actually very similar. Tyler was my ticket, opening up against Terrakion with a Chardy Berry, and after the opponent set up rocks and then elected to Stone Edge the second turn, Tyler was already double boosted in attack and speed. This allowed him to conquer King Gambit, Heatran, and Mega Tyranitar before we had to switch Akuma in to deal with Machamp and Flygon. With the plan going relatively smooth, I hoped this would be the case for the second Elite Four member. Wrong. Very wrong. Frostlass opened with Thunderwave, which it was spamming all day long, and with a Focus Sash in its pocket, I wasn't sweeping this Frostlass, never mind the entire team, with anything. After chopping it with Tyler, Drewster was able to frag the opener with Ice Shard. There were a bunch of pivots amongst us both trying to get the upper hand, but the next casualty was its Staraptor to Tyler's Waterfall. Nadeham clobbered Shaman Sky with a Cross Poison, Tago overwhelmed Lapras with Rock Smash, and an Earthquake-locked Cobalion allowed Curie to get in, set up Leech Seed, and ride a million Bulk Ups into the sunset, chaining the final Sand Ridger in the process. We were moving on to Elite Four number 3. I tried the same strategy as the first two, opening with Tyler and trying to set up. Aqua Ring was a free turn for us, but Moonblast did a good chunk of damage. The good news was that the opening Vaporeon Sylveon fusion swapped into Xerneas, unprompted, giving us an easy alleyway to KO it. Drewster dropped Zam, and Nadeham whacked Scolipede, finishing off Purion immediately after. With Bubblegum, Princess, Fairy Dragon, Garchomp now center stage, I asked Akuma to rock it. Thank you very much. Only Virizion remained, but Tago was far too bulky for its fiber optic network, shutting that stuff down instantly. Just one more before the champion. Again, I really wanted this Tyler sweep thing to work. I just needed Roserade to set up spikes, which he absolutely did not do. Knocking it out invited in Tentacruel, who poisoned Tyler with Toxic before dying, and I knew this Yveltal was going to Sucker Punch here, so I couldn't stay in. Akuma got in virtually for free and play rough the legendary. Tyler Waterfalled to finish Chandelure, and Leech Seed on Giratina meant all we had to do was stall Dragon Pulses, until Nadeham was finally able to punch it home with Wing Attack. And then Sableye walked in. Honestly, I thought the battle was over, so my heart kind of sunk when I saw there was an extra Mon, but Nadeham just had to stall this thing out. It had no moves that could damage it. It just took 15 minutes of nothingness to get it done. Good night, Sableye. Hello, Athena, our battle-tested champion. Her team is insane. What is this lineup? None of these Mons are real, and they're all scary as hell. A Dragon Dance caused Garchomp to switch into Cresselia, who just died. Garchomp back out couldn't withstand the boosted Ice Fang, and a Fairy Water Mega Milotic got diced up by Nadeham's Cross Poison. Volcarona couldn't stand his wing attacks, and Gyarados stepped in. I didn't have any electric moves besides Thunder, so boy am I grateful it hit. And with Zygarde out, I realized I had the perfect counter. Kiri. Kiri's Leech Seed was so strong against the HP-centric beast. Bulk Up meant 1,000 Arrows was doing minimal damage to us after just a couple turns, and it was only a matter of time before the clock ran out on Athena. Leaf Blade delivered a final blow, and we had become the Armeuran champions. After this moment, a couple cool things happened. First, Blake shows up to help, but realizes he's late and congratulates you, a classic plot in the Pokemon games. You get the Hall of Fame induction, a notification that nothing will be locked behind your karma anymore because you're maxed out, and you get warped back home. Alex, the brother that was left in the Kanto region at the beginning of the story, is waiting at your doorstep. Arwen shows up as well to formally invite the both of you to the Battle Frontier. Through Aquafina City, you're able to attend via the SS Anne and continue having a blast. I think there's a little more post-game and stories to be told, but I just got done playing this game for 100 hours. I'll leave the rest for you guys to figure out on your own. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Simone, DJ, Victoria, Kiri, Tyler, Chad, and Grant, our VIP Plus subscribers. You guys are the best. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!